here. Pay from every point to the next one. I know, man, you know.
I hope you have enough people to do it. Is that about good to call it to order? Thank you.
Yeah. Charlotte, you don't have to sign in. You're on the board. We have you logged in. You already, it's just for community.
Oh, no. I started wrong.
Why did you sign in?
I like signing things.
Oh, geez. Can't
All right.
keep you anywhere.
It's
6:33.
okay. Is the microphone on?
Yeah.
All right, it's 6:33. I'm Tony Oviedo. I'm going to be calling this meeting to order. And then let's go ahead and do the roll call and just check in with everybody. Tony Oviedo here.
Cedar Coons here.
Charlotte Melania here.
Lori Fisher Murray here.
And online board members.
Hi, this is Rebecca.
And this is Kyle.
Perfect. So that makes 6 of us so that we can go ahead and have a forum. And then, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? All
We
right.
need to make some amendments. We need to remove some things from the agenda.
Oh, okay.
2 things. One is to remove, let's see, number 9. This was going to be a recommendation from the DEI committee, and we still need to continue to discuss it before we present it to the board. So I want to move it on to next board meeting. And then 10 and 11, we do not have legal counsel recommendations for the board to consider. So that would be something to move to the next meeting. So I'd move to approve the agenda and remove 9, 10, and 11 from the agenda.
Want to remove them or
I
table-
second.
Rebecca.
You want to remove them or table them?
We're removing them from this agenda.
Tabling them means moving them to the next
Okay,
meeting.
table to the next.
Are we
Yeah,
table-
I didn't.
Go ahead.
I'm asking, does she want to remove them or table them?
So I'm sorry, I didn't use the word table, but I said that they would go on to the next meeting. So yes, technically they're tabled.
Table to the next. Okay.
Can I ask a question? When you say that you want to have more discussion, who's gonna have that discussion?
With the DEI.
The DEI
Yeah.
committee needs to have more.
Okay.
So we've got the proposal at this point, and we need to actually we want to have a meeting with the DEI, everybody that's involved, to look it over and discuss it before deciding what to recommend.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right, and then Kyle gave the second.
all right, Kyle gave a second, we'll go ahead and.
So wait, stop. Hold on 1 second. Hillary, what was that?
So, but then that's for 9, but 10 and 11 is, just the legal counsel, or we don't have that, or?
I think we don't have any recommendations from legal counsel. And that takes care of both of those. Yeah.
I have another question. I thought everybody on the board was on the DEI committee.
No, everybody on the board is in the community outreach committee. There's only 4 members on the DEI committee, because if not, we hit a quorum.
Okay.
And 4 or 3, 4 keeps us under a quorum. Yeah, you have to partake as a community member.
Okay, round.
Okay, I don't understand. Can you explain it a little bit better? So I remember at the meeting on the 26th that you made a suggestion, I think, Tony, that everybody should be on that committee.
Well, not to be on the
No.
committee, everybody should join in the
The
conversation.
conversation.
to the DEI meetings, the actual committee can only be 4 people or else it becomes a quorum. And then the things that you're talking about technically fall into an area of board meetings and stuff that we have to avoid. So that when we're having discussions in committee meetings, they don't become like a board meeting. It's just a committee meeting.
And who are the members of the DEI committee?
We're getting a little sidetracked. Can we approve the agenda, please?
All those in favor of approving the agenda? Aye.
We can't answer my question?
Who's on the DEI committee?
Yeah.
Aye.
I,
They're about, yeah, they're on the meeting minutes that we're about to approve.
I don't know the name off the top of my head.
They're in each
It's not a secret. I just don't know. I know I'm on it.
from the 26th, which is in this board packet.
I read minutes and minutes and minutes, but I never saw it. That's fine. I'm sure it's there. I'll look for it.
They're definitely in there.
Okay, are there any nays? All right, the agenda has been approved. Let's go on to item number 2, the approval of minutes from October 26th. And the 1st of November. Is there anything that needs to be discussed on these minutes?
Yes, I wanted to clarify a couple of things. So I saw that Charlotte put that Jennifer and Cedar are on the policy committee with her, and this is good clarification because I did not have that in my notes. I had that those 3 were the bylaw committee. So I just wanted to verify, is that correct that Jennifer and Cedar are on the policy committee?
Yeah.
We can't say
Yes.
we can't speak for Jennifer, but, oh, they've already had a meeting. Yep.
But that means the bylaws committee.
Uh-oh.
No bylaws, you're right.
Yeah, that was the bylaws
You
committee.
went through the
Yeah.
bylaws.
Yeah, I'm on the personnel committee, but I'm not on the policy committee.
So your addendum
Wrong.
is wrong. Okay, so Charlotte's. The wrong committee. Okay, so Jennifer and Cedar should have been on bylaws committee.
Okay, right now we just have Charlotte on that committee. And then the other thing is
Wait,
also
hold
to
on, we have
clarify.
our minute person to catch up with her.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. The other thing is the DEI committee is listing Charlotte, and I wanted to clarify because I thought Charlotte said that she, I don't know the exact word she used, but was going to be like a
Not in there.
observer or something. I don't, because that does put 5 on the committee.
Hey Sylvia, I don't have you in my waiting room.
I'm gonna participate, but I'm not gonna be considered a board member, so we don't go over quorum.
Okay, so did you catch that? She's not gonna be part of the committee.
One of the board members is trying to get in.
Sylvia's trying to get in.
Understanding is that board members are always board members, and that even if a quorum goes to a Christmas party, you have to then take minutes.
Right.
So,
No, I
so I don't understand how you can then go to a committee meeting and only be
think that's something that we need to.
a community member, because if you go to a Christmas party, it's a quorum for a meeting and you have to.
Sylvia, I don't see you in here.
I think-
So you went to the agenda.
This saying that there's some.
Hmm.
Not like workaround, there's something that has to be done, not necessarily taking meeting minutes, but it has to be like noted somewhere. That there was,
That they met
Yeah.
and that they,
yeah,
yeah,
we need to look into that.
especially with such a big. I mean, and I know in a small community, people haven't done that in the past.
You should
People
click on
show
it
up
and then it should give you a highlightable, you know, a link that you should be able, there we go.
Yes,
Here you are.
But it is,
We don't wanna be in.
I just
You're
don't know
in.
how you can attend as a community
You're
member.
welcome. Sylvia's in.
Okay, so I'll have her down, Sylvia.
Or you just show as a board member.
Well, yeah, but then.
All right, so is that the only correction that needs to be made to the minutes?
Committee meeting should have minutes.
Are there any others?
Yes.
There are others.
It might
No.
be a
No.
voting committee. I mean, committees only vote.
And then,
on-
can we get, a motion to approve the minutes at this point
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
as amended? I've got
I'll
a sec-
second it.
all those in favor say yay, yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. And the motion is passed. And that brings us to community input. Thank you for showing up, community members.
More or less, more than others. So, and I'm just gonna read my comment, which. And I'll give you a copy of it. Pass it all around.
There's nothing better than your secretary.
You get first.
That should work.
Okay, so my name is Maggie Durham. And I'm a resident of Dixon. And I'm here to express my interest in joining our Toledo Valley Library Board. As former library board member, among other tasks, I updated the board handbook. I was involved in opening this wonderful building and reorganizing what became the community center and is now our very successful thrift store. I also staffed the front desk, and I'm honored to have been one of the many volunteers who embrace the importance of libraries and look forward to many more years of outstanding accomplishments by this very special library. I've also been fortunate to have recently served as our Dixon School Librarian for a number of years, I think 10 or 11, and I'm excited to see a younger generation now in that chair. It's been a joy to work with your children, a most amazing group of strong and well-loved individuals. And now if I could only recognize them as they become high school students and beyond, which I often can't, but they know my car and me. I should note that I was also formally invited to create the school library for a new elementary and middle school in Pasadena, which I did. And I served as their librarian for a number of years. I'm a member of the New Mexico Library Association and a former member of the American Library Association, not at present because that one's pretty expensive. And prior to being in these libraries, I was very involved in the civil rights movement. I work with 2 nonprofit housing discrimination organizations. Incidentally, I was involved in the first housing discrimination suit against somebody named Trump, and in the civil rights divisions of the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. That was a first step. Some doors were opened, but a meaningful seat at the table is not always resulting. DEI work has been an important next step. Another area of interest and involvement has been in the field of aging. I'm one of Mary's Marauders, the first graduates of the aging program at my university. I interned with various aging nonprofits, and I worked with the American Society on Aging, developing content for regional conferences for professionals in this field. I still remember a button worn by one of the conference attendees. Aging, aren't we all? So now, as I would surely be the oldest member of this board, I ask that you excuse me if I don't always hear clearly or perhaps forget something said. We can embrace our diversity in years lived. Thank you.
And so I think what we're gonna need to do, Maggie, is put it on the agenda to vote you in next time that we meet. I think that's the procedure,
Okay,
because we just need to put it on the agenda, so that we can do it.
okay,
Okay?
so.
As a heads up, we're not meeting in December, but January.
That's fine.
It'll be right there.
I'd like to say something. Thank you so much for volunteering, Ms. Maggie. We could definitely learn off of your years of experience. I'm very pleased that you decided to join.
Well, thank you, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
And all of the committees that are going, anything you want to jump in on from here until the vote, I think you're welcome to.
Oh,
jump
yeah.
on as a community member until you can actually get voted on, but we look forward to voting you on at the next meeting in
Thank you.
January.
I appreciate
Cause
that.
it's like that, well, you might be overqualified.
None of us is overqualified. Well, or all of us are overqualified.
It would be very lucky to have you.
Yeah, I think you bring a lot of strengths, and I really appreciate,
I look forward to it.
you stepping up.
Could Maggie please email that to the librarians, what she read it to go to the board, please?
I have a copy. I'll scan and upload it.
I have to put it in the minutes too.
Thank you.
Sure.
And do we have anything else from the community that wants to? We have community time.
Community.
Is there anybody online that wants to talk?
Community online? Let's see, I don't have any raised hands.
No raised hands for input.
No raised hands for input.
Maybe he's still managing like something older than here. All right, that'll take us on to item number 4, the staff reports. We can go ahead and start with the librarian report.
Anyone have any questions about the librarian report?
I don't turn it off.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It's about time. Just some things to note from my end. If we were to look at our actual patron numbers that we have books going in and out of here, on average, we're looking at checking out about 9 books a day, which is not a whole lot for a building this size. It's not a whole lot for what we offer here. So, you know, this always circles back to our community engagement piece. Like, we don't have a lot of participation in the building. It is, again, one of those things to reflect that our online presence is again soared this month. We have another almost 700 checkouts there. So, you know, we're really working towards this digital age, and like, how are we making it more accessible to our community? And what does it mean for a space that's not being utilized, right? If we don't have a whole lot of people walking in and out of these doors, what do we need to bring in here to get them into the space? Because it's not books, right? Tomas is doing his part, and like, if he could get him to grab more people and bring them in, but this is just something that I think we need to have a constant memory or a constant thought about, right? Like, books aren't it. So things that Annette and I have talked about that we will be bringing on is musical instruments. We will be bringing on a health package for those people who need to age in place. So walkers, chairs, things like that we can check out for extended periods of time. So I'd like for you guys to start thinking about other things. Cake pans was a suggestion, different sizes of cake pans. That's great. We can put those things up. Yeah, you know, like those are things that it's accessible. Like, how can we make more items accessible? My beautiful trip to the Santa Barbara Public Library, they have 500 books in their total collection, 500. They don't put any more than that. What their collection is about is they were an agricultural town, so they have 10 Instapots, they have 30 pressure cookers, they've got items that people need to be able to take for canning, for the times of years, seasonal. Their musical instruments it was amazing to see a full set of drums that you could check out.
Can you tell me which library?
Santa Barbara Public Library
In California?
in California. It's amazing. And their whole system, they no longer care about keeping the doors open or closed. It's a system they don't have a librarian staffing the place. You have someone that comes in, you check out your books. It's fully automated. They only have librarian hours. They post the librarian hours. Other than that, the space is used for the community. The doors are unlocked. You walk in, you walk out, you utilize the space, you leave. It is 100% open community access.
And if there's not shelves with books, what do they actually have in the library?
Literally musical instruments, computers,
Are there places to sit and
there was they had their neurodivergent corners, they had their silence corner, they had their stimulus corner. They had, what was the other corner that they had? Oh, the sleep pod corner. They had little pods where you could nap in. I mean, and they write on them like why it's important to take a nap. If you like, they have their staff, like they approve staff naps. Like it's just really important for holistic health, not only of the organization, but of the community. They've also removed any benches outside that are anti-houselessness. They are open to houselessness. They know that it exists. They know that the library is a source of need and want, and so they are shifting to make sure that the space is there. So I think, you know, it was an inspiring place to go and visit. It was really great to have that as an opportunity. And a really good, you know, just lesson for us, like when we're trying to shift, like how can we shift to be more and do more?
What you're saying too, maybe even remember that day we were here and about 3 people came to us for the post up like a chamber of commerce?
Oh, right. Yeah, we need a
More information.
more information.
Chili Paladins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how can we be more resourceful, right? Like
Well,
we,
that fills the gap of what it means to be a community center as well.
Right.
The library and the community
Right.
center. A washing machine.
yeah,
I mean, when we first opened, you know, in the La Segunda, the shower worked and community members would come in and shower. I think even at the older library,
Oh, wow.
too, people would just come in and shower. You could take like a 10-cent shower,
yeah.
you know? Oh, yeah, people took advantage of it, the campers.
For
the
sure.
locals, The homeless, the waterless.
I didn't know that.
I mean, we do good in keeping the well out there, you know, for water access, but yeah, how can we use a shower?
I must stay as long, they're not as comfortable.
They're not as comfortable. We try and get Tomas to get out of here with his sweaty butt, you know?
I think that's a problem. I think that like
It was an amazing, so much more.
so much more, and not just that, but I mean, other libraries look up to us because we are able to pull these sort of things off, and I think if we could pull something like this off for our community, I mean, that would just open the doors for so many other rural areas to also give access to their community members to stuff like this. Like, I don't know if anyone else in the state has.
Not in our state.
But I think
It's a
that
blended
this is
library.
a learn off of us, we sit and plan it and do it right with these students, I think it would be great.
Mm-hmm.
What about things like in Santa Barbara, how do they, if it's open 24 hours a day and there are no staff there?
There's staff hours.
There are.
It's posted. So you walk in and they say librarian hours and you walk in and you know, it's actually a digital display, which was really great. The librarian was there. It was all done by their STEAM kids, right? So the STEAM kids did all of the checkout material, the self-checkout. They programmed everything and got that little corner
What's
set up.
the STEAM field?
Cool.
Science, technology,
Oh, it's
engineering,
STEM. Oh, right, okay.
arts, and math.
Okay.
So it's those group.
Okay.
It's those groups that got together and did all of their programming. And there's just a kiosk that runs across that says library hours Monday will be here from this time to this time, this time to this time, this time to this time.
Well, I think one of the keys was that when you told me about it before, when they switched to that system, they didn't worry about theft and people checking out books went way higher.
Right.
Um,
They
like-
had more use. They had more utilization because there was comfort. They could come in and not feel like they're being watched and not, you know, they could just spend the time that they needed to spend in the space and then leave when they wanted to leave.
No, again, I think it's lovely to have such an open feeling about this. I just can't help, as having been in the mental health field, you know, I know that a lot of times people who are in a lot of distress and show up in places like this and behave in ways that are not very safe.
That's the theory. That's possible, but in practicality, you've been a librarian here for how long?
2 years,
And how often have you had an out of control person in there?
once.
Once. So,
But I'm not talking about, I'm talking about in a radically different environment, you know, where there isn't the kind of structure and behavioral expectations of a library, but where, you know, it's open 24 hours and people can come and go and they're doing their laundry and they're taking showers and they're sleeping. You know, I mean, I've worked in the mental health field for 30 years.
So are you expecting like a call to go out to people who are mentally unstable to be like, oh, hey, this is an open space? Is that what you're expecting? Is that like it would
No,
be?
no, please don't put words in my
Well, no, that's why I'm asking.
No,
Like,
what I'm saying is that when you have a space that people become aware is available and people are gathering there, and there are gonna be all different kinds of people.
I think that's also the point of the DEI. is
Right.
Diversity and inclusiveness. And I think, to answer the question, instead of just speculation, we could actually go to Santa Barbara and say, hey, we looked at your model. How do you deal with this? What are the actual incidences? Yes, ma'am.
There's amazing resources now in mental health, like mental health first aid, retraining, we put on the community. To help people feel more inclusive and to equip people with the knowledge, and mental health first aid it's a training available to first responders. They use it in Australia, they use it all around the world. So rather than excluding people and
I'm not suggesting excluding, please, I think it's
I-
important, can I finish? I think it's important when we talk about a radical change of a model, that we look at the possible downsides.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Because it's not like it's all one-sided. And if someone is talking about the downside, it's not a good idea to make that person feel like somehow they're a negative person, or they're wanting to exclude people, or they're having negative expectations. I think we need to look at these things very clear-headed.
Well, and then, as a community, we would pick through what are the things that are really valuable,
Right.
and then which things are unfeasible for our community, which things would be the most benefit to who we have here. And that's not to say we're gonna go off of anybody's model outside
Right.
there, but, I know we've been looking into a bunch of different
Mhm.
library houses. You've been visiting libraries, I've been visiting libraries in the state, and like taking note of the things that I think are really great, like, I have a bunch of teenagers, or a couple of teenagers, and one other thing that I've noticed is that in other libraries, they have like special spots just for teenagers where they can be outside of the view. Like, I have daughters that don't want to be looked at by men while they're in the library. They want to have a safe spot. So having a place that's blocked off just for teenagers to be able to be and be safe without being on display, because the male gaze is real. And they have to put up with that.
right. That's your kiddo.
Sylvia would like to speak.
I think that would be a great thing. I mean, my teenager still wants to come to the library. I think that's so phenomenal. Like at 13, I would have never wanted to be in the library, and my kids love the board meetings and they love the library in general, but I'm saying, you know, they can utilize these spaces. They have the little kid room, and I think that's fantastic, where they can just like kind of mess stuff up and put it back and learn. But teenagers, they need a different little space, right? And whether it's, you know, however we're gonna, you know, non-binary, however we put that out, I think that we do need to start tailoring and switching.
Spaces for people, but also
Exactly.
for our other communities as well, not just the teenagers, but
They should have a space.
a
in there.
good place for small
Yeah.
children, a good place for people that are elderly.
What you were saying about, I know this library is already like a support group for our poetry group and for presentations of archaeology. But maybe to expand on what you're saying, maybe support groups like for people to gather here for mental or
Mhm.
support for grievance, you know, they said, and this building that they just built is gonna take a lot of the pressure off the library right now too and stuff like that, you know. But this library does more than just libraries. It holds a lot of activities that as long as I've seen it, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was just thinking,
Excuse me, Sylvia would like to speak, please.
No.
Go ahead, Sylvia. You gotta unmute yourself. There you
What I would like to see is, a lot, more bilingual, education going on, bilingual books, speaking Spanish, and encouraging that, and encouraging also having guest speakers come in, more guests, more of a diverse guest speaker. And also, I really want to address economics. In other words, like, I would like to see the people who do write books here bring in their books, share their books, you know, and also just more arts, and actually more interchange between libraries, and interchange between libraries maybe in different countries, like if we have Zoom, because I think literature is really important in enlivening reading, and storytelling is like absolutely very important, and connecting with universities and archives so that people it's not so far away, it's so possible, to kind of see that transition to universities, and to becoming doctors and lawyers and all of that sort of stuff, and with agriculture in a really big way, so that we develop really a community that is sound economically, and has the opportunity to really explore the full breadth of literature and everything literary and communication wise that is possible to share. And so I would really like to see that.
That's great.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Just back to Cedar's discussion about, the possibilities of issues happening if the library to be open for 24 hours. My thought was not that she was saying anything against, that, but just the awareness that vandalism can happen at 3 a.m, that vandalism can happen at 2 a.m, and that if nobody's around, and vandalism, if you're in a space like this, can be extremely expensive.
And I think, and Barbara, if I'm correct, I'm not sure, but when I looked at it, they have some doors that are open, and they have open hours, and then they have some facilities that are open 24. They have actually a mix. So they have some like outdoor stuff that's open 24 hours, and then the library itself closes at like 10 p.m. and the doors automatically
lock.
And then they open it, I think it's 6 a.m. or something like
So
that.
It's like 5 a.m.
So it's not pure just the
open it up
between
24 hours.
Right.
It's a little bit different. We've not.
Nobody's trying to suggest 24 hours, right? We're just trying to say, like, how can we be more? Yeah, the gist.
I mean, I think when you've interacted in crisis situations, and, I've done a lot of counseling, on the street and that kind of thing, you think of all these things could happen. So, I think of space for teens where they can't be seen is wonderful, but I want to be sure also that somebody's monitoring that space, so that somebody isn't coming around there and messing with kids inappropriately when they aren't being observed. So it's sort of like this balance that I'm looking for, a balance of making it open and keeping it safe.
Yeah, and generally in a community like that, in this space, it's like you're always going to have a mix of different people in the space. And so the community also helps police each other. And it doesn't just have to be.
It's not one person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all take that on.
All right.
Could I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Since I'm not on the board, I'm sort of hesitant to say anything, except that I have to say I'm a little sad that we don't have anybody with historical knowledge here, because I remember specifically that was really talked about for that corner was a teen space.
Was it?
That's what I want it to be, like
And,
my heart.
And it didn't happen, I think primarily, if I recall, because the space is just not that large generally. So, the feeling couldn't really accommodate it. But I think it also brings to mind the whole thought of, it's great to be creative and have all these wonderful ideas and know what other libraries are doing, because there are some fabulous ideas out there, and there are lots of good things that, this library might want to do. having not been that engaged in the last few years directly here, I'm just wondering, what do we know about our community? What do we know about who's out there
Mhm.
and what they might feel that they need? Because it seems to me
That's been the
really
question.
That's been the
They
question.
brought me on it.
That's been the question for everybody, right?
Yeah, so then maybe we need to go about, really looking at that, because I know years ago, we did do a survey. And we set up for the fiestas, I don't know if anybody remember it. And we surveyed people. I don't know what's been done since then.
My suggestion to that, if we're talking about the teens, for instance, because mine is with me. I think there's like, we all go together, they're all friends. They're all here, and we ask them.
Mhm.
I mean,
Perfect.
sometimes it's us going a little bit more than we would really like to. And dances, especially in a community like Dixon, especially like how, back in the 80s and 90s when I grew up, and there wasn't that really like a phone call to come to do this. It was a visitation. It was you go visit somebody, you talk to them a little bit, you invite them personally, and that's how I remember my parents going and doing things around here. Was an invite, right? And it does take a little bit more time, but I think we're really looking for actual people who are wanting to give you something that you're asking of them. It takes a little bit more. And I think that, I would say, of course, with the kids, I can lug them in here, and that's what it is. But, if we're looking for other needs, if we're looking for what they're looking for, why don't we all go out and talk to one or two people and try and get them to commit to come in? I think that's the only way that we're ever gonna learn what our community needs and what they're needing. And that's
So I think our first, board was that. So I don't remember exactly when, but the Forest Service did. They basically just had half of the community in northern Mexico, and they surveyed the entire, pretty much the entire community, in that aligned communities, and what do you want from the Forest Service? And that's pretty much what I suggested that we need to do in this community, because we were pretty much shooting in the dark. We don't really know, we have some ideas. And obviously that live in this community who have their own ideas. But kind of the general, the people that aren't coming into the library, that's who we need to hear from. Why is that so? Not in that way.
And I think part of that is the community outreach.
That's our community outreach committee. Yep,
But just because,
Yeah, because
right.
the way that are responsible to the community.
that's all great. To move things on, we're gonna just keep the ball rolling. Get the report from La Segunda. Annette, are you ready to do the report for La Segunda?
He was on.
Yes, let me just go ahead and pull it up real quick. Give me a minute.
And also, if people have questions specifically about it, I don't know that Annette necessarily needs to go over it if people have had the opportunity to already review it. Does anyone have questions about the La Segunda report?
How's it going?
La Segunda has actually been doing really well. We did really well for the art tour. We doubled in revenue from the previous year. So it was pretty exciting. First day of art tour pretty much cleaned us out. So we had to go in and restock on the second day in order to be able to have items for sale in the store that were actually of value. And, my volunteers were there, did a great job. In fact, yesterday we had a volunteer staff meeting and review. We went over the tour stuff and just how well the store's been doing, and got to read all the positive comments and feedback that we continue to get. And, we just keep working on continuing to do the good things that we do as a community program. we just donated a sewing machine to the Northern Community College in order to help with a Parkinson's glove project. We also donated another sewing machine and more material to the Fiber Arts Center. And we did a big donation to the Penasco High School culinary arts program. So we were able to provide a lot of material over to them that they were needing. And, you know, we're just continuing to work and try to help our community. And that's about it, you know, just continuing to stay busy and continuing to help people.
Great.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you, Annette,
Annette.
and volunteers.
And then executive directors report.
You guys have any questions on that one?
I'd like to know how, if we can get a list of, like, what duties are handled by which people.
I think you'll go over
Personnel
that
committee.
in personnel.
When we get together in the personnel committee, we have a huge task ahead of us.
Yeah.
To make a presentation for the board, and that's gonna be, we're gonna be working on that in December and January for the board. And there's gonna be a lot of research that goes along with it.
Okay, so we don't have that yet.
You and I have to make it.
And Rebecca.
Well,
You already have a scaled version of it. We already have duties split and assigned to both Annette and I. There's already a document
Where
done.
is that?
It's on our drive.
Yeah, it was.
It's in the
I've seen it
drive.
before on one of the.
It's what,
meetings.
yeah, it's in the drive.
I tell you, finding things in the drive has been the big challenge for me.
For me
I'm
too.
working
Okay.
on it,
Yes.
but if anybody can help me locate that, that would.
We're
be
gonna
great.
do
We're
it.
gonna-
You'll do it. You'll be in it.
So,
We have to talk about that later, but
I guess I see on her report that she said the, donations are continuing, the quality of donations. Are
So we're back to
continuing.
Segunda.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Is there anything that she can give us in particular that the Segunda might want? And that way we can maybe put it in the town crier and ask our community for these types of donations, or what exactly we're looking for. You know, it's starting to get cold, and I'm sure that we're trying to get warm clothes. I can only assume anyways, that we're trying to get warm clothes. But if there's something that maybe she can like put 3 or 4 things, and maybe I would be happy to send it to the town crier and put it out on our Facebook and stuff for donations of good quality. Just to help out however we can.
I apologize, but I can't really hear what Charlotte had to say.
She was wondering if you need someone to step in to be more specific with like what types of things you want we need for donation.
Solicit from the community.
Like a list of things to solicit from the community. Is that helpful or not?
Right now, it's been working the way we've been doing it. You know, luckily as we receive the donations, then we can reach out to the individuals that need them or the programs. So generally, the way that it works is people call us and let us know what they are in need of. And generally, the majority of the time, we already have the materials available to them. You know, I have put it out there at times that we're looking for specific things, and the community has always come forward and provided those things to us. So thank you, Charlotte. I really do appreciate your wanting to help. But the volunteers are already pretty much on top of that. So
Okay.
I appreciate that though.
Sylvia, go ahead. Wait, you gotta unmute yourself.
I would like to see that space where La Segunda is, I would like to see that turned into a Hispanic wing. Like they have it at the several museums have that, not museums, but you know, libraries or museums. It's an area that would house, you know, the history of the acequias, our history here in our valley. It would house all of our archival stories. It would be a special place for the music of the Hispanic music. It could be where the bilingual programs could happen. I'd love to see a Hispanic wing. I think there would be huge grants for that. And I think when people come, that they would find it really interesting, and it's a way for whole families to go back into their history and be able to preserve and share it. And there could be like, I remember that place had like even a kitchen, you know, it's a place where the foods could be done and learned and passed down, and it could be a really kind of a nice, I think a really extremely important part of the education that I think could really be very important. Could be something that would go on for a long time. And maybe the thrift store, the La Segunda, you know, could be someplace else on the grounds. Also, the radio stations there, and a lot of the music could be preserved. You know, oral histories could be done. I mean, there's so much there. There's so much potential for that, and teaching, you know, young children and language and things like that.
And that would be a multicultural center, because there's not just.
So the addition from Charlotte is a multicultural center because it's not just Chicanos, Hispanos, there's
No, a
indigenous.
Hispanic center, a Hispanic wing, because that is really badly needed.
All right. Did you have more on executive directors?
No, that's not the directors. We went back to Segunda.
Oh, Segunda, okay.
That's okay.
Do you have more on the Segunda, or can we go on to executive directors? All right, executive directors. Anything else?
Do you guys have any questions on that one in particular?
And if you don't have any other questions, we can move on to financials too.
You guys have any questions on financials?
Are we gonna get are you gonna give us a report, Taya, or do we have to ask questions?
I was attending as a community member. I wasn't asked to speak. I was asked to prepare financials, but I can talk about some financials.
We try and have everyone, that's why we have the financials updated. It's in the drive. Do you have questions?
Yeah, okay, but, you know, I think, in my experience with boards, and I've had a lot of experience with boards, almost always there is a financial report. That's just very brief, that just says, this is the inflow, this is the outflow. We've got some big things going on, like this is the Giving Tuesday. You know, this is the end of the year where people make donations. There's, you know, I'd like to know status of grants and all of this kind of.
So that's the sort of thing like, that sounds great. And I'd love that too, because I have a hard time with the electronics. I like hearing a person talk, but I don't think, we didn't ask Taya to be prepared for that today. So that's something we do in the next meeting, so she can actually.
Okay, yeah, I had asked for that when
And it's on there.
on the agenda.
So your balance sheet is on there, the requested, so we just kind of upload
But
it
when
and
I
then,
saw financials on the agenda, I thought it was gonna be a report. It wasn't just gonna be, do you have any questions?
so that's why we do the reports, like the librarian report, the ED report. We try and upload them so that you guys can read through them and then ask any questions that you have, rather than us
The
spending
idea is
time.
that Streamlining it, because we were doing meetings that were 3 hours long.
Right. And we don't,
Do that every
right,
piece. And that is that if only the board can see it on the drive.
they can't,
and there
everybody
isn't
can,
a report,
Everybody can.
everybody can.
Everybody. can.
Once-
You know, not everybody's gonna do that. Whereas I think everybody could hear a report. I'm just a big advocate of having a financial report at every meeting. It can be 5 minutes long.
Okay,
Okay.
we can prepare that for the next one.
And I think you're okay with that, Taya, because you're the boss of the finances.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be fine with that. I would. To the topic that is brought up though,
Mhm.
about how the things are in the shared drive. And I do think that between community members and people who don't have computers or people who are struggling to understand the drive, I think that, you know, packets should be available.
We have 'em.
And we can print them out and people can pick them up if people want to attend via Zoom, but they want to come into the library and get a printed packet because they don't have a printer at home.
That's already, I've already been doing that.
We put that in the town crier that if
Okay.
you'd like a printed one, there's a printed packet posted in our community board out up there. We have a
Okay.
printed packet here behind the desk. So
Okay.
the minute we send out the agenda, which is like the draft agenda, that goes out to the community so they know what we're drafting on 10 days prior to this meeting. Then 72 hours before this meeting, we finalize the agenda.
Yep.
And then the packet gets printed and it's posted everywhere. So anyone can walk in and
I have
printed
not
packet.
noticed those postings.
Well, they're posted on town crier, but
If they're printed, that's great, 'cause I'm sure that they're somewhere here, they've seen them before. But maybe to mitigate it a little bit, and when we send it to the town crier, because it is out there before, maybe, and you know how it says, like, if you want to see the agenda,
Like, you know.
maybe we just add, if you want to see the drive and the financials and blah, blah, blah.
click here,
Mhm.
give each one of them a thing. Sure.
And
I
have
can do that.
documented
That's,
report.
that's great.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I can tell you some things that I have been thinking about. I don't know if we had a Giving Tuesday. I don't check my personal email very often, and that's where like my town crier notification comes through. I have 10 email accounts for each of my clients. I check that email for that client for that day. So, I don't know if we did a big push for Giving Tuesday. And I know that we have not yet gotten out the annual appeal, which I heard was on
the agenda.
agenda for tonight. So as far as that goes, and then as far as grants go, I believe Rosalia is the one writing grants. And so I'm not really in the loop on that. That would be a Rosalia question. And then things that I am concerned about, our financials are getting a little low. Our balance sheet is getting a little low. And so I have started to become concerned about restricted versus unrestricted funds. And I did not inherit from Felicity, who was the executive director, the grant writer, the director of finance, and the head librarian, plus Minna. But Felicity did a lot of things. I did not inherit from her, and I have not created for myself a restricted funds report to be able to share with the board. It hasn't been asked of me to do it. I have wanted to do it. I don't have a lot of experience doing it. Not a lot of my other nonprofits request that type of information. And so I believe we need to raise money.
Mhm.
I think this would be helpful. I work for a nonprofit, I can get with my financials to see if they would be willing to
Share a draft
share.
on how they do it. Yeah, the last nonprofit I worked for that did that, it was a huge ordeal. It took hours every month to create the restricted funds. And I haven't reached out to that financial person to ask them if there's a template, because they no longer work for that organization either, because that organization had some troubles. And we all sort of left. So yeah, that'd be great. I would love to start with a template or see something that somebody's familiar with that I can then start plugging and playing in numbers. But at this point, I think we really have to fundraise, because we really need to watch what our restricted funds that we've already received. And so the cash flow is juggle.
Can I ask a question?
Annette would like to speak, please.
Oh,
Annette, go ahead.
So I did put out something on Tuesday for Giving Tuesday. I did post on Puro Penasco, I posted on Dixon for the Grapevine, and I posted through the town crier. We did receive some donations, and We did receive another donation today. So we're hoping that, it just happened that through the week, hopefully we'll receive more donations. But there was something put out for Giving Tuesday.
And we just got a $15,000 general operations grant that I wrote, and we just need to sign it. So we're good.
Yeah.
We're good on that. Like, so
That's great.
Very
it's
helpful.
easy peasy.
So
We're
that's unrestricted.
unrestricted and it's
Unrestricted.
meant for our operational budget. That's what it was written for.
The question that I had has to do
Thank
with
you, Annette.
yeah, that's great. What kinds of consequences are there if you get in trouble spending your restricted funds improperly?
Grantors won't grant to you
Right.
again. You get a bad.
Big deal. Yeah.
It's gonna be important.
Now, the thing is that there's like this cash flow, right? So it's not like grant A goes into a bank account and gets drawn out of grant A. It's all bundled into one. And then, but the way that I do the data entry into the QuickBooks, every expense is tagged either to a specific grant or to unrestricted, or to a specific unrestricted grant. Say, we want to keep track of this funding, like for this 15K that we just got. Maybe we won't monitor it. Maybe they ask for a grant report, even though it's unrestricted, they might ask for a report at the end of the cycle. So not only restricted grants get that tag, but unrestricted can as well. And so every expense gets that. It helps build reports in real time.
Good. This is really super important. I'm really glad this came up. Thank you.
All right, are we ready?
And I have shared some stuff with the EDs about how we need to watch this and how building the reports. Now, our QuickBooks data file, I said, is very old. And so sometimes, and not everybody was doing the tracking the way that I do. It had been done and then not done and then done and then not done, and now I'm doing it again. And so when you build reports and you look at a time frame, there are things that you can't get rid of. It's like,
I know.
it's historically there and you can't get rid of it. And so, so building those reports and tweaking it for a restricted tracking is then becomes manual. The QuickBooks won't do it for you. You have to do it in an Excel. You have to build it yourself. Room for error, but yeah.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on to item number 6?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm sorry. Item number 5, schedule committee meetings during the month of December and January to set objectives for the coming year.
Okay, so it's on the drive and it's just a sample flow chart for the committees. So if something starts in the bylaw committee, that bylaw committee is then gonna send that document to personnel committee to make sure personnel committee can review it, make sure it doesn't, we got good cross check, right? From personnel, it goes to finance, from finance, it goes to policy, from policy, it goes to consulting and legal, from then it goes to capital outlay, then to DEI, and then it's our community outreach, right? Which is, we're at this point where we can actually share this with the community, get community engagement and feedback. This requires us to do more and go out, knock on some doors, do all the things that we need to, because we're all part of the community engagement. And then if it needs to go back to bylaw committee before, after community's given some input, it might need to go back to bylaw committee to start that process again before it comes to the board as a recommendation for a vote.
And this flow chart's in the drive.
This flows in the drive for every committee. So bylaw committee, policy committee. If it originates there, personnel committee, finance, consulting and legal, capital outlay, DEI, and community outreach. So this just gives us a nice flow. So as we get into our committee meetings, and you're done with your bylaws, you know where that's gonna get sent to, but you also know that in the meantime, policy committee is gonna be sending you something, DEI committee is gonna be sending you something. So there should be a lot of flow in and out, but it also hopefully will address a lot of the communication, right? hopefully this will give us a space where we can say, okay, this committee, I'm knee deep on it because I'm not only a part of it through bylaw committee, I'm also part of the community outreach committee. So I hit it at least twice, right? So hopefully your eyes and ears are on things at least twice before they come to the board for a vote, and then that can hopefully again shrink our meeting times down. And again, hopefully the community will be well informed because we've done a great job at our community outreach portion, right? So if it all works well, this will be a nice little flow chart for us to be able to continue to move in and out of and be able to move board meetings into a little bit smoother process. Just a little bit, not a lot bit.
You know, the bylaws committee has already met.
You guys are amazing.
Yay. And we have a meeting, and we have already posted some of our suggested are there for you to look at. And you can comment on them.
Perfect.
And so you know, so we're cranking.
We're aiming to hopefully be at least, I would say, halfway done with the bylaws in January.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
our hope.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
we have with the first pass. I mean,
Yeah, right,
obviously it's
first
got to go
pass.
through the flow chart. But our next meeting is January 2nd.
Perfect. It is, so in order to make things potentially easier as we are sending our committee emails along, what I'll do is I'm gonna go back into that October 26th email or board minutes, and I'm gonna email everybody what committee we think via board minutes, via line, by everything you're assigned to. If you feel any discrepancies in that, let us know before we move on.
There's a
But
lot going on there.
there's a lot, yeah. So hopefully it also tells you, hey, I'm on personnel committee. I know who my next personnel committee people are. I know who I have that communication with. And then we now know who our documents are getting sent to. So we're not giving everybody 30,000 emails, right? We can at least limit
Very
it
much
to somewhat, yeah.
I would
some
appreciate
committees.
that too.
Yeah, trying to make.
But
it
I'd
work.
like to know who's on all the committees.
Right, I'm gonna get you that email tomorrow. I got you.
Can we also?
That was in the last meeting minutes.
Yeah,
Oh,
make-
right.
I'll get them into an email for everybody along with the flow chart. I did upload the flow chart, but I'm gonna copy the flow chart into the email so everyone has full access. Okay,
Can we have committee meetings physically posted on a bulletin board or somewhere in the library?
as long
I
as-
mean,
yeah, the committees let us know when it's
Like,
happening.
I would love to attend the bylaw, because I've read these bylaws, I have worked with these bylaws and run up against some issues with these bylaws. Specifically like, for our next agenda or whatever, 7, for the fiscal sponsors, so like, how does that play in to the bylaws? So I have like ideas that if we're gonna be amending bylaws, right? And so, now's the time to voice my opinions. And so, but I spend so much time on the computer, you know, that I can't go and look for any more things. But if there is a bulletin board, if there is a poster that when I come into work or when I'm coming into the grocery store or whatever, I can be like, hey, when are those next meetings gonna be? And I can physically feel them. It really, and I think it would help other community members who might want to be part of some of these meetings, because the committee should not just be board members, but board members and community members. And you know, we had a lot of people attend a handful of meetings between September and November, but now maybe some committee members want to say, oh, these meetings are happening. Oh, I want to join that one committee for the library. And so, so
I think that would
I
be
think
great.
that would be great.
town crier postings are great, but
Yeah.
I miss half the stuff on the town crier because I look at my email once every 10 days.
All right,
Less.
we've just passed the hour mark and I have a community that needs to be picked up and
Okay.
house, so I'm gonna keep it rolling. Do we have anything else for number 5?
Well, so in that note, committees, when you guys schedule your meetings, please email Annette and myself so we can start posting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
That's it.
we can move on to number 6, the annual campaign and board role.
Okay, so annual campaign, this is our letter, we go out and we solicit, we tell all of the year of amazing things that we've done, what we'd like to do in the next year. and ask for.
Mhm.
Typically what's happened is we write these letters and then the board will either get together here on a day and sign away as a group, or you can each come in and pick up a stack and take them home, sign them, give a little love note, and then bring them back. So we stamp them, mail them, and send them off. Nobody has to decide how you'd like to do that right now, but I do want everybody to recognize that this is something we will be asking of you in the next week or so. Okay, so find out what works for you. And if there is a day that we'd like to say, okay, we're gonna, for those that wanna meet here, we'll pick a date and we'll say, we're gonna meet here at this day, this time, potluck style, potluck it, and we're gonna be signing some letters. If you can't make it, you know, unfortunately, but come grab a staff. I need y'all to sign. I need penmanship.
You just tell me when, where, what, and
Yeah, okay.
we'll be here.
Ready to move on to number 7, the fiscal sponsorship request. Rising Bud Foundation.
So Taya touched on this quickly, and I had a chance to speak with Bonnie. We don't have we thought about having a fiscal sponsorship for the Rise and Love Foundation. It's an amazing foundation that does some incredible work, and we've got their executive director here. And the request is that they're missing their fiscal sponsorship, right? So she's kind of floating in the wind a little bit.
Yeah, Powership Network ended their fiscal sponsorship program. They had gone way over their budget with their youth conference that they had in New Orleans back in April. And they just had to shut down shop. So we had another fiscal sponsor lined up, but then they didn't have the capacity either. So it's just been kind of floating in, yeah.
We do fiscal sponsorships, but
Bandy.
we don't
See.
we don't do a great job of having good policy in place, and we don't follow other boards that I've sat on. Our fiscal sponsorship was laid out in stone, how we were gonna do it. It gave a term end. If they were gonna be a forever fiscal sponsor, you still had to renew every so many years. So as much as I would say, like, let's do this, I wanna say, let's do this with a good policy.
I agree.
So I think that this is probably gonna be punted. I'm sorry, policy committee. And can we leave it with you as soon as we've got something a little bit better for the organization? If you're still in need, we'd love to circle back.
Absolutely.
I actually would love to get your contact information so I can know a little bit more about it, because I don't think I know enough to even begin to think about policy for that.
We have we're very simple because we're all about rematriation and decolonization. So it's bringing elders and youth together. I loved what you said earlier about bringing youth into the conversation because we have youth on our board. In our traditional language, youth are called new elders. So yeah, I definitely love to share more. It's volunteer run, low operating budget, very small budget, or grassroots, but we are looking to. We just finished a year-long strategic planning project with the Department of Justice. Creating.
I'm sorry, but somebody has a blue Subaru, not lights inside, the battery's not gonna die.
That's mine.
You see your batteries, the inside lights are on.
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. I just found the documents in the drive that you sent in. Apologies, I didn't see them beforehand, but yeah, I would love to connect. I definitely will be working on policy stuff and asking for help from people, and I hope that we can kind of bring that in also.
Thank you, appreciate you.
And then number 8, the monthly recognition of volunteers.
That was something that Jennifer was. Yeah.
Okay.
She's not gonna call that a little bit off that she's not here and having to call everybody.
I think she told me the blue Subaru.
I have a black one.
Down there.
I have a black one. Maybe it's mine. That's fine.
I'll have to-
It can go for hours.
It can go for.
It was like, it goes, 8 hours on that battery.
That was something
Okay.
Jennifer was doing.
So that was something Jennifer was doing, and she told me last week that it was hit or miss whether she was gonna make it or not,
Okay.
because she got hockey or.
That's right. I texted her and I didn't hear
or-
back because, you know, the boys wanted to hang
Yeah.
out, but I just thought it was odd. I hadn't heard from her.
No, yeah, that would check out though. I think she
We can
called me
still
again.
say that we love our volunteers.
Yeah, we love all of
recognize
our
them,
volunteers.
and we couldn't without them.
I think how this has ended right now is that we're looking for consent from our volunteers first, because we wanna make sure that they want to be
Oh,
highlighted.
right.
Because what if someone wants to volunteer for their own personal intentions and doesn't wanna be posted out there, and that, we need consent, like,
Right.
it's just the only way to operate, so we're seeking consent from the volunteers to see if they wanna be highlighted in this way. And then we can move forward for those that want to be highlighted in this way, if not, we come up with some other way to recognize them.
Right, and I saw her proposal of like the things that she wanted to actually say about people in the Creative Suite.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. to
Yeah.
recognize the volunteers.
I think it's great, I just wanna make sure that everyone's okay with that.
Makes sense.
And I think that brings us closer to the end. Does anybody have anything to add? Rebecca, did we miss anything?
No.
No? Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Reading through the October 26th, meeting minutes, did we not have a meeting on September 28th?
We had our annual meeting, September.
And we can't approve those meeting minutes.
Until the other one,
Right.
okay, and then the follow-up was on October, what, some,
It was part 2 of the meeting.
part 2,
minutes.
and it was
Same
like
thing.
around the 12th or something like that? Okay, that's what, okay, and then the other thing is, I find I ask this of almost every board meeting I attend. I would really like the minutes to have a footer that has like the name or the date of the meeting and then the page number, because then when you flip through it and you have paper, you're like, wait, what meeting was this? What meeting was this? So just a simple like footer with some sort of a name, date, and page number as a good policy practice on meeting minutes. And then
How's that generated?
you just put a footer.
Yeah.
You just, it's super easy.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
That's why I started
It
sweating.
takes like 3 seconds.
Why are you sweating for me?
It's
It's super easy. I'd be happy to teach anybody how to do it. And then reading through this, it says all in favor, it passed, but it doesn't say like who made the motion, who seconded the motion. I found another place where it says.
Conversation with the secretary and the directors about doing the minutes. We're on the verge of ending the meeting.
Okay.
And
so it's just, and then I'm not a big fan of the first.
conversation.
Yeah. I actually think I addressed that in our email, just to make it clear. We do need first and last name, or at least first name.
Full names, yeah,
right.
And I've noticed,
I'm
I've
sorry.
read the library minutes from back in the 90s, and like, this is a big habit with this organization to use the first initial, last initial in their meeting minutes, and I don't like
And I
it.
think there's a bunch of stuff that we can tighten up as we go through the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great that you keep making note of that, because that'll make it better for
I
everybody.
agree.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, and
What
that's.
about action steps? Should we just quickly review what we said we would do? That's on the agenda, by the way.
Action steps before next meeting,
Yes.
So our next meeting is scheduled for,
January 28th. So this gives everybody most of December and most of January to get our committee meetings. Order.
I'm gonna start that off. We have our meeting coming up January
Second.
2nd
Yeah.
for
Second meeting
bylaws.
for bylaws.
Yes, so that's
Yeah.
our action item for
Oh,
that.
wait, where are you guys meeting?
We're
What
meeting on
time?
Zoom. We
Oh,
meet-
actually, we're gonna have to make it a hybrid because if we're inviting community members, we're gonna need space.
Right, And
You
you
think?
should use the
Yes.
library Zoom link, so we need to
Okay.
make sure that we're not crossing with anyone else.
Let's just say
So-
we're taking the action to, we're gonna have our meeting on the sixth. I will get, or we, second, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Jeez, I'm sorry. We're having our meeting on the second. Our committee will get with the EDs to get everything properly posted and make sure rooms are open and everything's ready to go, in a proper manner.
January 2nd for sure.
January 2nd.
Time. to
We
be
have done
determined.
it at 6:30.
Yeah, we've kept the same time frame.
6:30, okay, January 2nd, 6:30 PM. Typically an hour, hour and a half,
We'll do an
an hour.
Hard hour stop.
We do a hard hour. It makes it more, you can do it. You don't feel like you're giving up your whole evening.
Right, I already have 2 community members that are gonna be joining me for this one.
Great,
January 2nd,
perfect.
6:30 PM, 1 hour, Zoom or hybrid, and we'll get you the PBL. training password.
so we'll hope that I have.
We'll get you a Zoom
Okay,
link.
so then we have to do the letters thing, that was another action thing.
So the other action thing is, so let's make a decision on the day that we wanna decide. Everybody needs to be in here to sign, and then economic, we need you
If
all.
everybody's gonna be in here, we're gonna have to do the Open Meetings Act.
Oh,
Yeah,
good, excellent job.
I know I'm gonna pick mine up and do them on my own.
Yeah.
unless that's the way you prefer, because we need it done in next week, unless we call a special meeting.
Well, you can announce the possible quorum as well.
Say that again, Rebecca, please.
If there's a possibility of being a quorum, you post a notice of a possible quorum. And you can put what the topic is, which is signing the campaign letters, and that it's restricted to that.
Okay, notice it is, okay, Sylvia, you've had your hand up for a while, go ahead. Oh, you gotta unmute. Sylvia, you gotta unmute.
I'd like to see some grants for some computer literacy here, right here in our library for everybody, all board members and all community, since we are community members too. But a really, really great literacy program, computer literacy, and also some special programs, like say that would for bilingualism and for Photoshop and for arts and for all of those different things, for different skills. I think that would be just a really huge. I think that'd be really important. I think that would be a great offer.
Something to think about. Yeah, something to think about. I'm not gonna
I have
make that
a
an agenda item.
suggestion to what we're, the time that might get us around the whole Open Meetings Act. Maybe if we just set a day and we say like, from this time to this time, if you can come in, like for instance, I'm here all day, I can come in the daytime, so I can avoid hitting a quorum in the evening time, and maybe we stagger times of individuals coming in.
Yeah.
If we know what day the
Right.
letters will be ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Come and grab them.
Will be around signing letters, a quorum might be
Yeah,
hit or something.
We
like
could
that.
either way.
Do both. Why don't we do both? Let's give each other a time set to be like, if you can make it between this time and this time, that would be great. But if you happen to just be driving by and we happen to hit a quorum, it could happen,
Yeah,
but nothing's gonna be decided.
Right.
Community. Okay.
Okay,
No.
so just let us know.
I'll send you guys an email with that.
And I think we may have a date for Rebecca, you proposed December 7th for the personnel meeting?
We can't have that be an open meeting because it's personnel matters. Like, we're gonna be talking about with
Oh, okay, so we don't need to, we can't let,
Yeah,
let,
no.
right. But the board could know that meeting was
Yes,
happening.
yes.
It's not that people can know that it's happening, it's that.
They
people
can't.
They
show
can't
up.
attend.
Yeah.
They can't just show up.
Can't
Right.
show up.
Okay, so as soon as we know whether or not the 7th is working, since that's a week from yesterday or whatever, a week from today.
So there's gonna be a couple things that we have to do on personnel committee, just to be clear. We have a bunch of standing personnel stuff that the personnel committee has to do.
Right.
In order to resolve things that we inherited.
I understand.
Then we have to, as a personnel committee,
Then-
create, a presentation for the next meeting, which is gonna be another time.
Right, so I'm just hoping that we can meet on the seventh.
Yeah, so we have a couple meetings we're gonna have to do. before-
That's fine.
And I'm happy to post that personnel committee is meeting, but it's a closed meeting.
Right,
I'm happy to keep it posted that way.
okay.
Just so we're, keeping the community transparency.
Yes,
That works well. But please let me know when you guys finalize.
okay.
We're in that.
As it's getting more towards 8, is there anything else we need to talk?
Any
about
other
before we get
action?
adjourned?
There's another action.
Other action steps, but.
I need a restricted template, that's an.
Yeah.
action step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
work on getting you that.
That's-
It
that's
might
good.
take a little time because my financial lady just went on maternity leave, but she's kind of here and there and I'll do my best to get it to you.
I'll reach out to my person too.
Anything else? Great, thank you all for coming. I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, you don't need a second.
Okay.
All right.
And then I've got.
Time is 7:52.
All right. Anybody that wants to help take down.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Greatly
James,
appreciated.
come help us, please.